In this video, I will be making an Italian-inspired meal consisting of all-you-can-eat soup, salad, and breadsticks. Classic Italian Zuppa Toscana soup with breadsticks and a garden salad. Just like you might get at a famous Italian restaurant. Hope you're hungry. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to be notified when there's new videos. Comments welcome. Thank you. Here's a quick list of ingredients, or you can check out the description below. Okay, so the soup, which is the main course, is pretty quick to cook. So I'm going to start out making the garden salad, inspired by Olive Garden, of course. And this lettuce has seen better days, but I'll just peel the outside ones that look bad and use the rest. And this has hearts of romaine, we got our tomatoes, of course, Roma tomatoes. And I am making 3 separate salads instead of making one bowl of salad. So that's the way we like to do it. Of course, I need red onion. I'm going to have a lot left here. I like to slice it kind of big, or like they do. Alright, some whole black olives. Grate on some fresh Parmesan cheese. Okay, and then you got to have your dressing there, of course, or you can use this kind, or whatever you like. Now I got the croutons here for on the side. Some people don't like croutons on their salad. Next up, pepperoncinis. I'm using the sliced ones instead of whole ones. Alright, next I'm going to prep the potatoes, peel them up, and then I'm going to do the onion. So I'm going to dice a whole medium onion here. And I'm going to set that aside on the mat there. Give me more room on my cutting board again. Now I'll slice those potatoes up. I like kind of big slices, but you want to make them about 1/4 inch thick so they all cook about the same speed there. Then I'm going to put them in a bowl because I've got them done a little ahead of time here, and I don't want them to turn brown, so I'm going to put them in a bowl, and then I'm going to cover them with water. That keeps the oxygen from oxidizing them, turning them brown. There you go. Set those aside. The recipe calls for regular bacon, but I'm going to be using some of my homemade smoked buckboard bacon, which I'm just going to dice up here. Alright, now since I'm using the buckboard bacon, that's a little leaner than your regular bacon. I'm going to start with some bacon fat, just add a little more flavor. This buckboard bacon has a really nice smoky flavor. Okay, kale. Got a bunch of kale. Seriously, 1 bunch of kale. And you can also use spinach, which I like to do too. The spinach doesn't stay as crisp as the kale does, but I think the spinach tastes better. Alright, there we go. Chop it up. Alright, stir our bacon around. Make sure it's not sticking. That's looking good, so I'm going to add in the sausage. I'm using a Johnsonville hot Italian sausage. I think Johnsonville is probably my favorite of the regular store brand sausages. And I like to break it up like a medium size, I guess. I don't like too big of chunks, but not too small either. All right, so that's done. And you want to take the sausage out, at least according to everything I've read about this, so that it doesn't boil. When we cook the potatoes, we're going to boil it. So we want to pull that sausage and bacon out so it doesn't boil, and then we'll add it in again later. Now, there's not too much oil in there, so I'm not going to drain it, I'm just going to leave it. And I'm going to use that to cook the onions. And the onions will just soak that up, and it'll just be more flavor. And of course, I've got the sausage sitting on paper towels, so it'll soak up a bunch of the excess grease that's on there. All right, going with our garlic. Just fry that a little bit so it'll release all of its flavor and juices. And then we go in with the broth. And I'm doing 2 cups of my homemade broth, and then 4 cups of this chicken broth. That's low sodium, and I like this brand, this specific, because it's actually low sodium. And then mine is no sodium. All right, and then we just do 4 cups of water, and now we just bring it up to a boil. Then we can add in the potatoes. All right. Now we just need to cook the potatoes. Take about 15 minutes or so. And then the soup's pretty close to done. So I'm start working on the breadsticks, and I'm just using some bake at home breadsticks. Frozen ones work good too. Rarely do I make homemade ones for weeknight dinner, but these taste pretty good. They're pretty soft, and that is pretty soft and chewy. Now these don't have anything on them; they're just plain. So I'm gonna make up some butter and garlic sauce to put on there. Just a 1/4 cup of butter, melt it in the microwave. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. I like to use the powder because it mixes into the butter well, and then you can spread it easy on top of the breadsticks. Now let's mix that up well. I'm just going to mix it with the brush. No need to get a spoon dirty. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes. Time to check the potatoes. Just want to make sure the fork goes through them pretty easy. In fact, these are breaking when I push the fork in, so good and done, but still a little firm. All right, next we're going with the kale, and we'll wilt that down. Now, kale doesn't wilt down like some stuff; it's a little hardier, so it'll stay a little more crispy. If you're using spinach, it will wilt down completely. If you want to use the spinach, you just need like a 5-ounce bag. You don't need a lot. Just get that bagged up in there, and it'll go right in there. All right, now we'll add the sausage and bacon back in. You can see how much grease that paper towel's absorbed. Oh, it's not going into our soup to make us fat. We still got plenty to give us flavor, but not too much. I don't like it when the whole top of the soup is just covered in, it's just oil. Alright, so we'll let that cook a little bit. I really just want to simmer it, not boil it, so I'm going to turn the heat down. So now it's ready to taste here. Now, since I put in no sodium broth and low sodium broth and water, it's going to need quite a bit of salt. Of course, I'm low sodium, so I try not to put too much in, but it's got to have some here. So I started out with about 1/2 teaspoon there. Just mix it in and taste it again. Another 1/2 teaspoon, and it just needs a little more. Yeah. next, we'll do the cream. And I like to temper it before I put it in. So you scoop out some of the soup and put it into the cold cream. And that's to warm up the cream. Because I don't want it to curdle, which can happen. I don't know if I've had it happen with this soup, but I don't like it, it curdles and it's all little blobs floating around in there. And the grease separates. Not good. So, actually, I guess it's breaking its emulsion. But either way, it's not good. And you want to stir that while you're pouring it in, What you want it to do is kind of gently warm up. Alright. We'll mix it in good and then we'll just let it simmer for a little bit. Don't want to boil it at this point, whatever you do. Alright, so we're going to start the breadsticks according to the package directions here. 450 for 5 minutes. And I'm just doing these in the toaster oven, as you noticed probably. Okay, that's ready. Set up our little mini buffet here. And get a good look at what it looks like now. And I'm just going to grate some of the fresh Parmesan on the top to finish it off and garnish it a little bit. Although it's actually just melting in. And I'll have this cheese set on the side so we can grate it onto the top of our bowls. The breadsticks are ready. So I'm just going to coat them with our buttered garlic sauce. There's actually no butter in that garlic butter sauce. But I'm going to add some of that flaky finishing salt there. Or you can use kosher salt. It's kind of nice at the end. Have that crunchy salt on the top. Of course, I like to use all the butter up. Alright, I'll just sprinkle some of that salt on there. Alright, so here's our little mini buffet with our soft and chewy breadsticks. A little crusty on the outside. Our Zuppa Toscana soup. Garden salads. Dressing. Croutons. A little fresh parm to grate on the top. Alright, so here we have our Italian-inspired meal with all-you-can-eat breadsticks, garden salad, and Zuppa Toscana soup. There we go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click that notification bell to be notified when new videos are posted.